wins. It's a great achievement. 16th fight. World champion. Future's massive. He loses. He had to take the opportunity. Still British and Commonwealth champion. It's a win-win for everyone, isn't it?
Maybe, but there's too much on the line to be a win-win. It's a win-lose because we don't want him to be British and Commonwealth champion. I know he can become world champion. The only question is, can he do it now? We could have kept learning 2-3 more fights, but you have to look at the individual opportunities and weigh up the risk-reward. And this is big risk, but it's also a massive reward. And you only gamble for high stakes. So this felt like the right time. 7-1 on, favourite. I think he's a joke.
No, it's a joke.
I think it's a 50-50 fight. Maybe give Josh the edge, just because he's been tested. You know, Martin hasn't been tested, but maybe it's because he's very good. So a lot, you know, this I think this fight is about percentages, small, tiny. Could that be the O2? Could that be the travelling? Could that be the experience? Could that be the Dylan White fight? Could it be the amateur experience? Could it be Martin's professional experience? Boxed twice as many rounds. You could talk about it all day, couldn't you? And that's why it's such a huge fight, because there's so many unknowns. How good is Anthony Joshua? How good is Charles Martin? We actually don't know. You know?
Who's better out of Glasgow and Charles Martin?
Well, I had Glasgow signed
Yeah, I know.
to fight Joshua, and I felt he'd win that fight. But actually, as soon as they squared up in the ring and I watched the first round, I thought he's got absolutely no chance in this fight, because Martin's very awkward, he's huge, and he can bang, and it's too easy for him to beat a smaller man. It's a different fight against Joshua. It's two big men. But you know, I said to Josh, if you square up your feet and jump in, he's going to throw the left hand at you hard, and you can get knocked out at any stage. You could be winning every round in the fight, make a mistake and get knocked out in the 6th round. I believe and I'm hoping that Anthony's speed will be the difference in this fight, and I think Martin will be shocked by the speed. He definitely hasn't fought anything like Anthony Joshua. But then AJ's not boxed anyone like Martin. So again, it's something that you could talk about and debate all day long.
Have you ever managed, promoted anyone like AJ? He seems the full package in terms of head on, focused, no hype about him.
You know, I think part of being a good, although I'm a promoter, I'm also not an advisor, but you know, I'm a friend, if you like. Yeah. So everyone's different. You know, Carl Froch was very different to Kell Brook. Kell Brook's very different to Luke Campbell. You know, Luke Campbell was very different to Kevin Mitchell. You know, AJ's very different to all of them. Scott Quigg is a lunatic. You know, and a sadistic trainer and liver of the sport of boxing. Froch was very similar, and AJ is similar too. He's bright, you know, he doesn't really, you know, like Charles Martin said, I can see it, you little bitch. But AJ, you sort of got the feeling his heart weren't really beating, it was, you know, and he's blessed with that ability. He lost his rag against Dylan White and nearly paid the price. So, but that fight could end up being the difference in this fight, because Martin's never really been tested. He's never had to come through anything in his career. Again, maybe just because he's too good, but he hasn't really boxed the opposition that AJ has. And I'm not saying AJ's record is, you know, his opponents have all been stellar, but he has boxed at a high level, and he has had to come through something in a fight and shown that he has got a chin, he has got heart, and he can carry his power late.
A little bit like Derek Chisora in terms of what he's doing at this stage of his career. I think Chisora fought for British and Commonwealth 15 fights in, and then a world title 16, 17 fights. Is it too early? I mean, or are those days gone when a fighter waits 25?
I don't mind, is it too early? Just, you know, all I look at is Charles Martin. Is it too early for Charles Martin? I think everybody's response would be no. Is it too early to become heavyweight champion of the world? I don't think so. Maybe. There will be a little element of learning on the job, if you like, if he wins. But it's just about beating Charles. You know, we were looking at Jennings. You know, does Bryant Jennings beat Charles Martin? Maybe. Does Carlos Takam beat Charles Martin? I think so. You know, does even, you know, Malik Scott beat Charles Martin? Maybe. he can outbox him. If he gets chinned, it might be a different, But
Yes,
all
mate.
these guys, they're all like for like, aren't they? The difference is Charles Martin has the world heavyweight title. So if it was Charles Martin in the final eliminator, would we fight him? He's not someone you'd handpick to look good against, is he?
We're not 6'5" Southpaw, no.
exactly. But risk versus reward. AJ beats Charles Martin, he becomes one of the hottest commodities in world sport, not just in world boxing, in world sport.
Do you say that because of the numbers that he does already without the gravitas of a world
That's the
title?
only way that you can measure those kind of comments. And I see those more than anyone. It's not just at the ticket office. It's not just at the box office on Sky Sports. It's on the digital side. Little clips, that Sky Sports might put out, or SkySports.com, or they're off the scale.
Do you galvanise all of it? I mean, do you pull it all together, especially like this stuff that we're doing, which a lot of it's internet-based, newspapers that aren't mainstream?
We know, even down to, if I say 3 weeks to go before Anthony Joshua's next fight, it will do 8-10 times as many retweets and favourites and impressions as another fight. That's that's not hard to gauge. But the real proof of the pudding for me is in the box office, at the arena, and on air. Which he did 400 and plus deep thousand for Dillian White fight on the box office.
Do you think that will be repeated, British title fight?
Oh, for a British?
No, for a British
Never,
title.
no.
Never. You think that, because that was astronomical.
No, but and listen, credit to Dylan, he sold the fight as well. But this does double that. And listen, Carl Froch against Mikhail Kessler did about half that. And that was a unification fight between two legends. Something about heavyweight boxing, and there's something about Anthony Joshua.
How does the split go?
It's confidential, but it's a good deal for everybody. Both fighters get a huge amount of money, so they should. But we live in an age where there's information's too accessible to fighters for you to, pull the wool over their eyes, or
They know what they're
for
worth.
them to be perceived that you're robbing them, because and the way that we work is very different. So everyone sees everything, and Charles Martin's team know how much is in the pot. AJ knows how much is in the pot, and it's just a case of coming to a split where they both make fortunes and everyone's happy. And we found that.
I say, every time you put on a fight with Al Heyman, that team, I suppose it gets easier, doesn't it? Because everyone knows.
And I think there's more desire now. They've got so many fighters. There's more desire to send fighters here. Frampton is a Heyman fighter. They were keen to make that fight. Charles Martin is a Heyman fighter. I just presumed he'd fight Deontay Wilder, but the deal was too big, and
Numbers again.
The carrot was too much to not fight Anthony Joshua. And he obviously believes he can win the fight. Charles Martin, he definitely ain't here for the payday. Of course, that's that's a nice bonus, but he believes he beats Anthony Joshua 100%.
There's also the added title of, if Joshua wins, he becomes the second fighter to win an Olympic gold and then go on to win a world title.
And obviously the first heavyweight.
That's what makes it massive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd have done it a little while ago, just before James, it would have been even bigger, but obviously James beat him to it. How much respect do you give a man for that, especially given his life wasn't immersed in boxing, was it?
But it's the same old story, isn't it, where boxing has either saved someone or given them an opportunity to create a different life for themselves. I think, and Charles Martin's exactly the same. What would Charles Martin do without boxing? What would Anthony Joshua do without boxing? I'm not saying they couldn't have been successful in something else, but their lives weren't exactly going down the greatest path until they found the sport. So they're two similar people. When they done Gloves Are Off, they were talking, and actually a lot of the time they were going to each other, like as if to say, yeah, you're right, So they're both young, they're both hungry, they both had checkered pasts, they're both willing to take risks, they're both huge men, they can both punch, they both love to fight. So, I think it's a great fight for boxing.
You keep mentioning Wembley. You're warming him up, aren't you? You're greasing him up, aren't you?
He'll get there. I mean,
what fight's going to be at Wembley then? I mean, if he does win, that's obviously the main.
If he wins, he could fight anyone and fill Wembley. But know, we got a win first on April 9th. We could have gone to Wembley with this fight, but it had to happen in April. And there's an edge, I believe, for AJ being in the O2. You know, he knows it. It's his stomping ground.
Home ground, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and sometimes when you're outdoors in an outdoor fight, everything's a bit trippy. You know, so felt right. But he'll be at Wembley soon. I mean, you know, but like people are obsessed with Wembley because we've done one show there, and everyone wants to go back. So we'll get there, whether it's June, July, or 2017. You know, he'll be there one day.
That's why you've only got a couple of months, isn't it? It's a short window to kind of
sure.
secure it, get in there and do the rest of it. So, well, listen, thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Appreciate it as always.
See you soon.
Speak to you soon.
Cheers.